Hello, everybody, and welcome to a preview of the Chiefs 2020 season. I'm repping the Super Bowl champions today, but everyone's looking forward to the next season, so we're going to rank the top 10 toughest games on the Chiefs schedule for this upcoming year. We're going to start at number 10, and that is against a team that the Chiefs saw in the playoffs in the divisional round, the Houston Texans, on opening night. This game only comes in at number 10 for me because I think it has less to do with the Texans and who they're going to be this year and more to do with just how fired up Kansas City's going to be on opening night, banner night, to reveal their first Super Bowl championship in 50 years. That team is going to be amped up. Arrowhead is going to be rocking if possible. And teams historically just win their opening games coming off of the Super Bowl. In recent memory, the only team I can think of that lost after winning the Super Bowl was the New England Patriots back in 2017 when Kansas City knocked him off. Alex Smith had a huge day. Kareem Hunt, everybody remembers that game. I think Kansas City will be able to take care of the Texans in this Week 1 matchup. In each of these first 10 games, or in these top 10 games, in each of these top 10 games, I'm going to put the spread out as what I would make the spread for this game. I think that the Chiefs should be about minus 8.5. They should be about 8.5 point favorites against the Texans in Week 1. Coming in at number 9 is the Atlanta Falcons. And Atlanta is a high-octane offense. You know, they're a team that has been up and down recently since they made the Super Bowl a few years back. But normally they come on strong at the end of the season. They start out slow, come on strong. With Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, they added Todd Gurley. If he can stay healthy for a full year, they have a lot of offensive weapons that may be able to keep up with Kansas City. But still, the Falcons are a big question mark to me, and at Arrowhead, it doesn't rank in the top half of Kansas City's toughest games. It comes in just one step below at number 9. I'd say the Chiefs should be 7.5 point favorites against Atlanta. Number 8 is the New England Patriots in Week 4, and having the New England Patriots barely break the top half of the toughest games on the Chiefs schedule, you don't know how much joy that brings me as a Chiefs fan. But maybe you do if you've watched any Kansas City games recently, especially playoff games. Kansas City and New England have kind of come into a bit of a rivalry since Andy Reid has taken over as the head coach since 2013. The Chiefs and Patriots are 3-3 against each other. Unfortunately, Kansas City 0-2 in playoff games, especially that memorable AFC Championship game in 2018. But this is a regular season game with no Tom Brady at Arrowhead. I think Kansas City should definitely win this game. I have them as 6.5 point favorites against New England. That comes in at the 8th toughest game on the schedule. Number 7 is at Denver on Week 7, and games at Mile High Stadium since Patrick Mahomes has taken over as the starting quarterback, they've been memorable to say the least. Back in 2018, it was the lefty throw to Tyreek Hill on 3rd down in that fourth quarter comeback on Monday Night Football. Everyone remembers that play. One of Mahomes' biggest coming out moments early on in that bright 2018 season where he went on to be the MVP. And then in 2019 at Mile High, it was that horrifying quarterback sneak on 4th down that left every single Chiefs fan all around the world just wondering what was going to happen for the remainder of the season. Fortunately, Mahomes came back, and the rest is history. And even in that game, it led to a dominant victory. Matt Moore came in, and the Chiefs' defense dominated the Broncos' offensive line. Kansas City had so many sacks in that game. But, I mean, it's against Denver at Mile High. There's been highs and lows for Kansas City against Denver, so this game has to top the rankings, has to come in somewhere on this list. And I think Denver's improved as a team, but they're still nowhere close to Kansas City in terms of talent. But anything could happen. It's a primetime game, a divisional matchup. It comes in at number 7, definitely a game that's going to be interesting, but I think Kansas City should come away with it. I have the Chiefs as 5 point favorites at Denver Week 7. At number 6 is on the road against another divisional opponent. It's the Los Angeles Chargers Week 2. I have them just one notch ahead of the Denver game. I think the Chargers and the Broncos are very, very on the same level when it comes to talent and what their chances are this season. I think they're both going to be about average teams that could surprise if things go their way. But the difference is the Chargers have just done a much better job matching up against Kansas City in recent years. Mahomes is 12-1 as a starter against divisional opponents. That one loss came against the Chargers. And even in the wins, Kansas City's never beaten the Chargers by more than 10 points since Mahomes has become the starter. And he's never thrown for over 300 yards against the Chargers either. In both of the games last year, he didn't even break the 200-yard barrier. The Chargers defense is one that Mahomes has struggled against. Still, Kansas City finds a way to win normally against this team. And plus, it's week 2, so whether it's Tyrod Taylor or the rookie Justin Herbert starting for the Chargers, they won't be completely familiar with the offense. They won't have found their footing. So I don't think that this is a game that the Chiefs should lose, but it's definitely going to be one that's close, as all these Chargers-Chiefs matchups are. I have the Chiefs as 4.5-point favorites against the Chargers. Comes in at number 6. Number 5 is definitely a surprise entry on the list, and that's the Chiefs' home game against the Chargers in Week 17. It's a game to close out the season, so maybe the Chiefs won't have their foot on the gas pedal as much if they already have a spot in the playoffs clinched or something. But either way, let's be real, it doesn't really matter for the Chargers if they're home or away. All their games are road games. There's not going to be much of a home field advantage in LA. There never is. The Chargers just simply don't have fans. But they do have good players, and one good player that may have found their footing by Week 17, their rookie quarterback, Justin Herbert. He's a promising prospect, and if he has a few starts under his belt by Week 17, he may be rolling, get some experience. I think that the Chiefs are just as likely to be in a dogfight at home or on the road against the Chargers. I have them as 4.5-point favorites at home against the Chargers, Week 17. Number 4 is Kansas City versus Tom Brady. Hopefully this isn't the only time in the 2020 season Kansas City will be traveling down to Tampa Bay, but this Week 12 matchup could play a factor in both teams' chances to get to that eventual Super Bowl. While this is high on the list, I'm really not sold on the hype of the Buccaneers this year. Obviously, they're going to be much improved. Brady is better than Jameis Winston. There's no arguing that. Brady will not throw 30 interceptions, but Brady did falter down the stretch last season. He didn't look like the same quarterback that had been tearing up the AFC for years. So he may be slowing down, and I don't trust their defense either. I'm not completely sold. Their defense has improved as well, but this is a team that's used to losing. It's hard to go from a losing culture to a winning culture in just a single season. I think it's going to be tough for the Buccaneers to turn that around. Maybe they can, but I'm not completely sold on it. That's why I only have this at number 4 on the Chiefs' toughest games. I have the Chiefs as 4-point favorites, Week 12, against the Buccaneers. Number 3 on the list is a sneaky tough game, and that's at Buffalo, Week 6. If it weren't for the Bills' complete collapse in the wild card round in the fourth quarter last year against the Texans, this would have been Kansas City's first matchup on their road to the Super Bowl, playing against the Bills, a much different style than the Texans. As opposed to trying to do it all on offense, the Bills do it all on defense. And not many teams, no team really has stopped Patrick Mahomes since he's come into the league. But the Bills could be one of the teams that finds a way to slow him down, as we've seen a couple of teams do. Especially the biggest reason why this game gets a big bump in my rankings is because it's a Thursday night game at Buffalo. The Bills aren't used to having many primetime games. That stadium is going to be rocking for this game, and it's hard to travel on a short week. It's hard to be a road team on Thursday night games. The Chiefs have struggled with it before, and every team in the league has struggled with it before. Bills are a quality enough team that they could take advantage if Kansas City does not bring their A game. I think this is a game that Kansas City should still win, but it's going to be very close. It could definitely go either way. I have the Chiefs at 2.5-point favorites against the Bills. At number 2 is what looked like a sure collision course for the AFC Championship in last year's playoffs, but never came to fruition. That's going to be now going to have to wait until Week 3 at Baltimore. Lamar versus Mahomes, the last 2 MVPs, and what is expected to be the next big rivalry in the AFC. A lot of people say these are the top 2 teams in the AFC. I completely agree with that sentiment, and this is going to be a fun matchup for years to come. But right now, the Chiefs are 2-0. Mahomes is 2-0 against Lamar Jackson. But Lamar Jackson has been a complete beast against the rest of the league. 20-5 overall as a starter, 20-3 in regular season games. But 2 of those 3 losses came at Arrowhead to the Kansas City Chiefs. This time, Kansas City has to travel to Baltimore, so it'll be the first time in this Lamar-Mahomes matchup where the game will be at Baltimore. We'll see if that changes anything, but it's going to be a fun one regardless. This one is really close to call. I'm going to lean Kansas City just barely. I have the Chiefs at 1-point favorites in this Week 3 Monday Night Football matchup at Baltimore. And the toughest game on the Chiefs' 2020 schedule is when the Chiefs have to travel down to New Orleans Week 15 against the Saints. Whether both teams are fighting for first place in their division or competing for the 1 seed in their conference, trying to get that elusive first-round bye now with 7 teams in the playoffs, this is going to be an awesome game no matter what. It's always daunting having to go to the Superdome. Doesn't matter who you are. But especially for Kansas City, it's been tough for them to win games against NFC opponents in these last 2 years. They're only 5-3. They still have a winning record, but the Chiefs have had a winning record against pretty much whatever group of teams you want to make out in these last 2 years with Mahomes as the starter. They're 5-3, and 2 of those wins came in the last minute last year at Detroit and against Minnesota. Took last-second victories to beat those 2 teams. So it's clear that the Chiefs, maybe they overlook the NFC teams where they're laser focused on the division teams. No matter what, these NFC matchups have been tough for Kansas City, and the Saints are one of the top dogs in the NFC. A lot of people's favorites to represent that conference in the Super Bowl this year. So this is actually the only game on the schedule where I have the Chiefs as underdogs. But just like any of these matchups in the top 4 or 5, it's another one that I could see going either way. I have the Chiefs at 1.5-point underdogs against New Orleans Week 15 as the toughest game on the Chiefs' schedule. Let me know what you think I got right, what you think I got wrong, what game is too high, what game's too low, what game did I leave out entirely. Either way, it's going to be awesome watching this 2020 Chiefs team go as they try to defend their Super Bowl title and run it back for another year. Thanks for watching. Go Chiefs.